Hey, Peter, new intro just for you. New intro song.
Hey, Angela, that was hyping. I like that tune. Nice.
Oh,
I was just
awesome.
rocking out
Well,
here.
welcome back. Yeah, really. I know. I was like, well, we got to have something better for Peter here because, he's in a rock band. So whatever.
Wow.
I
I
tried. I
appreciate
tried.
it. Thank you. It was very good. It was very good. It's nice to be back. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me back. It's
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Welcome back. This is part two. Last time for anybody who's just catching us here fresh, we got disconnected by the internet trolls.
We
And
did.
so today, yeah, we did. So today, hopefully nothing like that happens
Mm,
and we're good to go. But
we're
yeah, just to
back.
recap, yeah. Just to recap, this is Peter Klassen. He is the owner of PK Digital Creative. And when we last spoke, we were just talking about him starting up his graphic design business after he had moved back from Japan, where he had a stint doing television, vocals and stuff in Tokyo for um, some companies over there and learning a new language and all that. So we're just going to pick it up from there. And, when you see this on the actual podcast, it'll all be stitched together nice and neatly, thanks to technology and all that. But that is where we left off. So, yeah, we had you back here in Canada. You had started your own business because you were touring with Stryker, your band that you're still part of. And so I really would love to know, if we're picking it up from there, how now you balance running a creative agency along with touring as a member of that band.
Mm.
How do you do it all?
Good question. I guess it's not for everybody.
Right.
Let me see. How do I balance it? Well, actually, it's it's really doesn't affect my professional life that much. Just because I've gone the entrepreneur route. Like if I would have become an employee, obviously that would pose significant challenges to maintaining gainful employment. Considering you don't want to say, "Hey, I gotta leave for a month and a half." Sorry, boss. Right? They don't like to hear that sort of thing in companies, and understandably, if I was the owner of a company, I wouldn't want to hear that from my employees either. So yeah, the entrepreneur route makes it possible because when you're doing a big long tour, especially North American tours, there's a lot of really long drives. So you may be driving from Colorado to San Francisco or something, and that's a long drive. So I've got hours and hours and hours on the
Mm.
road with nothing to do. If I didn't have a company to run, if I didn't have my own business, I would be bored out of my skull because some of the areas of the United States are really beautiful. Down the West Coast is really nice. There's a lot to see, but you can only look at fence posts, fields, and highways and flags and farms all the way down for so long before it gets old. Truck
Right.
stops are all kind of the same. Um, so yeah, I mean, I've got hours and hours to do stuff on the road. So really, it's good focus time for me. I sit in the back of either a van or a tour bus or an airplane or whatever, and I do a lot of my work there. I take my laptop with me. I get a mobile Wi-Fi thanks to technology. I can be plugged in
Mm.
the entire time for a fairly decent price in the U.S. and in Europe. Really, I think we're kind of getting hosed on mobile
Yeah.
fees here in Canada. But
Mhm.
so yeah, that's I stay plugged in. I can work in the hotels. I can I can work backstage because there's always Wi-Fi at venues. I can work in the
Right.
back of the moving van, and really, it keeps my mind busy because being out there on the road, it can be you're very disconnected from society. The only people you're really deeply connected with are the people you're touring with, your band, your crew. Usually, you'll be touring with another band. You're not always in the same vehicle as them, obviously, but you see them every day. But other than that, the only interaction you get with people are your fans at the merch booth, the staff at the venues, and then people at truck stops. So
So
yeah.
an interesting motley crew there for you.
So we don't cause as much trouble as Motley Crue though. We're
No,
we're
I'm
fairly
saying the
well
people that you
behaved.
No, I was saying the people that you find are a motley crew. I
Yes, it can be, it
Yes.
can be. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah. So it's
So,
funny
yeah, it
because
sounds like you Go ahead, go ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say it's funny that most people will say, "Oh, you get to go on tour. You must see so many cool places," And sometimes, you get a few minutes to go walk around and check out the new city when
Yeah.
you get there. But a lot of the time, you see the highway, you see the venue, you see the hotel room, and then you rinse repeat for the next month.
Right? You're just
Yeah,
here one second, gone the next, but it sounds
you
like you
bet.
make the most of your downtime. Now, you must not have motion sickness like I do, because I don't think I could work in the back of a moving
Mm,
vehicle, but
mm. I
that's
do not.
that's
I do not have
yeah.
much of this. But that being said, if you're on a very bumpy road and you're trying to
Uh,
make really intricate
yes.
moves with, say, vector graphics or something like that, it
Yeah.
can be a little frustrating because you'll just get your mouse in the right spot and it's perfect, and then boom, you hit a pothole, and everything goes to down the toilet.
You should sell art pieces like that, like, whatever happens,
Yeah.
like, at the back of the bus, like, these are your unique
Hey,
bumpy road art pieces, hey? There you go.
that's a cool idea. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so whatever bumps are there and whatever imperfections are there, they're part of the art because that's, sort of like a topographical depiction of where you were at the time you made
Yeah,
it.
I like it. I like it. That you could be onto something here.
Hey? Oh, alright,
Mm.
I'll hold you to it. I wanna see a second income stream soon on your website.
Yeah, coming up.
So,
Bumpy
what
highway
advice
art.
would you have Yeah, bumpy side art. Um, what advice would you have for entrepreneurs who are multi-passionate? That's quite common with entrepreneurs, like, just
Mm,
now I had another idea, right? So, we're all full of
mm,
ideas. How do you what kind of advice would you give them if they're pursuing 1, 2, more than one thing at a time?
mm. That's a really good question, and I think probably the best approach I can offer for that is what not to do or what to be careful of, because I think when you are putting more than one thing on your plate, um, I think staying organized and having a good clear plan that you follow is probably essential, because things can quickly build up, and then all of the things kind of come to a head at one time, and you
Yeah.
burning the candle at both ends before you even realize it. Planning and organization, I think, is huge. Um, Now, the reason I know and I say that is because I struggle with that. I have horrendous
Mhm.
ADHD. I take medicine for it. If
Okay.
I don't, I'm all over the place. So, and as someone with ADHD, that is one of the biggest impairments for us is
Yeah.
planning,
Yep.
organizing, and executive function
Right. Right.
difficulties. So, even if you don't have ADHD, these things are going to come up in business, especially the more things you try to do at once. So that planning, organization, and if you can, I know in the first stages of business, it's very difficult. Even within the first 5 years, it might not even be possible for some people. But to outsource anything that you can, that is not
Yeah, good idea.
necessarily your wheelhouse, any of your admin work, if you can have like an accountant or a bookkeeper or something like that,
Yeah.
just outsourcing stuff that is going to help you focus on the stuff that you really do shine at is probably going to be a good approach as well, I think.
Yeah, that's solid advice, and I didn't know you had ADHD. I just saw a post you did recently on LinkedIn, and
Mm,
I didn't even know this, that it's ADHD Awareness Month
it
this
is.
month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I know my husband got diagnosed as an
Oh,
adult,
yeah.
and then, my kiddo just recently got diagnosed, so I know a
Mm,
little bit about that and the
okay.
executive functioning,
Hmm.
part of it, so yeah, you're right. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 16 years, and I mean, you've gotta stay on top of a lot of different, moving pieces here.
Absolutely.
So even for someone without that, which would be me, it's a challenge. So I can't
Right.
imagine having that and then having to also, stay organized, stay on top of things. But I'm sure you have some coping mechanisms and all that, in place to help with that. But yeah, maybe that's worth talking about a bit,
Sure.
ADHD and entrepreneurship.
Mm,
I know my husband definitely says, like, "I could not run my own business," but that's him.
mm.
Did you have any qualms with, like, "Huh, can I do this? Can I manage this with, like, how I know I am?" Like, was there anything there that you were like hesitant about starting your own thing or?
Mm, well, see, I think that's the other nature of ADHD is once you get this new novel idea and you're excited about it, you just kind
Yeah.
of go for it, and you
Yeah.
kind of you
Okay.
tend to hyper focus. You get right into it, and you kind of don't even really think about whether I can do it or not. You're like, I'm motivated to do this right now. Thinking about this thing is giving me dopamine. Let's go. And then you're six
I
months
love
into
it.
it, and you're like, oh wow, okay, I should have planned this a little better, but now we're going with it. We can't stop now. All gas, no brakes. Let's go.
I love it. I love
You
it.
know, yeah. You kind of go where the dopamine takes you, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, I do
yeah,
know that. I learned that,
yeah,
from talking to the therapist that worked with our son, so now I
yeah.
know a little bit more about it, but yeah, definitely. And I think it's a challenge just for anybody starting a business. It's
Sure.
not easy, right? I mean, it's not easy
Yeah.
for anybody.
But the
So,
interesting the interesting thing is once you get into the literature and the current research about ADHD and whatnot, they do say that most adults with ADHD, by the time they get, well, not maybe not most, but a good handful of us, by the time we do get to our mid 30s, closer to our 40s, we end up realizing that maybe I should go the entrepreneur route because
mm,
we've been in these companies, we've been working for other people, we're the star employee for the first 6 months, and then we're bored out of our skulls and we impulse quit.
yes, yes,
So
you are, yep.
you
I've
know,
seen that with my
yeah.
husband, yep. Mhm.
There you go. So sometimes we'll find that entrepreneurship is probably better for us. We're more in control of our optimum
Interesting.
hours. If we're focusing at 8 p.m. at night, hey, maybe that's when we're gonna get our best work
Yeah.
done. So let's do it. If we're
Mm,
stuck on the couch doom scrolling our brains to mush at 8 a.m., well, that's not very good when you have to be at work at 8 a.m.
right.
So you have a little more control over your optimum functioning hours, and you can just kind of pinpoint your strengths where you need them to be instead of having to work in someone else's structure.
That makes a lot of sense. I hadn't even thought about that, but you're
Yeah,
right about it. You're right.
yeah,
Even like I know even my sister struggles. I think she got diagnosed with ADHD as well, but she struggles with like her circadian rhythm. So it's like
mm,
shifted, right? So she
mm,
likes to be up later than most people and stay up later. And so even if we could accommodate for that, she has a regular job. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I hadn't even thought of making accommodations for that kind of stuff. That makes
mm,
total sense.
yeah.
Do you mind me asking if you did you get diagnosed as a child or as an adult?
I don't mind you asking. I am an open book about this stuff, and I love any chance to be an advocate. So yeah, I was diagnosed as a child. I actually have ADHD, OCD, and Tourette syndrome. Believe it or not.
Okay,
Yeah. So these
okay.
are all things that I've learned to deal with as I
Mm,
get older, and as you know, our healthcare system in Canada is not
yeah,
great when it comes to mental health. So there's a lot of things you have to do to advocate for yourself.
yeah.
But yeah, since a child, I knew I had it. I grew up, became an adult, consulted with some doctors about it, and they all told me it's in my head, or it's not
Mm,
real, or you just need to do this or that. I got told a lot of things like that by general practitioners who
right.
are not required to be educated about ADHD until very recently.
No.
So yeah, a lot of that throughout my life, and just finding what coping mechanisms work for me, and trying to plow through the best I can.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think, people that get diagnosed as children tend to do a lot better because, of course, you get to develop those coping mechanisms earlier on, whereas my husband got diagnosed much later in life, and he had a lot of, trouble in school. I hope you
Hmm.
don't mind me talking about you, Chris. But, yeah, he had a lot more trouble in school and with, like, risky behavior and stuff like that,
Hmm.
because they just didn't know. And I
Right.
think just
Yeah.
the time that we were in back then, we didn't really know about it
For
as
sure. For
much.
sure. Yep. I
Mm,
also there's a lot of things that we didn't even realize were attributed to something like ADHD until fairly recently. So even for me, even though I knew and I kind of pushed it into the back of my mind and just thought, oh, I'm an adult now, I need to power through. I should be strong. I can handle this. Um,
mm,
isn't the greatest approach, but you find out later in life, and then you start to look back on your life and say, geez, if I would have been treated, if I would have known, if
mm.
I would have really known what was going on and gotten treated properly, my life would have turned out And
Yeah.
I imagine that's even more of a thing for folks who do get diagnosed later in life.
Yeah.
I could understand if you were just livid. How did the
Yeah.
doctors miss this kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know? So
And that's definitely my husband. He says that all the time. He's like, "Oh, my life could have been so different." Not that it's horrible or anything, but
yeah,
he
of course.
just he had several career paths and like was like
Hmm.
flitting around and like, he got in trouble and, with
Yeah,
the law and things like
yeah,
this. So, and they got labeled as like you're bad. Well,
yeah,
he wasn't that bad necessarily. He just it's the dopamine thing, right?
yeah,
And
yeah. It's
and
very
all
common.
that. So, yeah, it's very common, especially in
Yeah.
boys. Yeah.
Definitely, yep. I mean,
Yeah.
it also goes very, very misdiagnosed, undiagnosed in females. It will tend to present differently
Totally.
for females. So disproportionately, females do tend to get to tend to go undiagnosed and untreated a lot more, which is a shame, you know.
Yeah.
But we're learning more and more about it, and I think it's good to keep talking about it and keep it out there because I mean, like I said in my post on LinkedIn today, there's a monetary value to it. Untreated ADHD
Yeah.
costs Canadian economy $11 billion a year. That is
Yeah.
crazy. And if you
It is.
ask me, if you provide easier access to quality mental health care to all Canadians, regardless of your income, your whatever, you are going to see those tent cities start to shrink.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
The only reason
yeah,
I like to say the only reason that well not the only reason I'm somewhat motivated to do good things too, but I would like to say that a lot of the reason that I'm not out on the street is because I had a supportive family and social circle who has helped me out when I was struggling. A lot of people
wow,
don't have that, you know. So
yeah, no, I
yeah,
agree. Yep, I agree, when you don't know what that's part of the problem about being diagnosed or going undiagnosed as an adult, is it turns into depression quite quickly
it
because
can,
you
yeah,
just end up thinking I mean, we're all playing the comparison game, right? But as when you have ADHD, you're kind of thinking, "Why am I not like, I don't do things like my peers. I don't
mm,
I'm you end up calling yourself stupid, but you're not stupid, you're just your brain works differently, but you end up
yeah,
telling yourself these stories because you're trying to reconcile, like, what's going on,
sure.
and you don't know, right? So just not knowing is causing you harm because you're telling yourself a story and you're believing the story, and it's not
Oh,
true,
100%. Yep, 100%.
and
Yeah, though
so
they say untreated ADHD will likely turn into anxiety or depression or both. So you got to watch out
both.
for that. You got to take care of
Yep.
your brain.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Exactly, exactly. Um, I know you said you were taking medication for it.
sure.
Again, hope you don't mind me asking. My husband was, but he felt, and this is pertinent to you because you're a creative. He's an electrician, but he still has to do problem solving and stuff like that at
Yeah.
work. And so he felt it was hindering that for him. He said it
Mm,
hindered his creativity, his creative thinking. Maybe it's just
mm,
not the right medication for him, but
hmm.
do you feel like that happened at all when you started taking medication or
I was definitely
um,
worried about that because
yeah.
a significant portion of the things that I am proud of accomplishing in my life are probably also somewhat attributed to my
Mm,
the part of ADHD that makes me get excited about one thing, hyper focus
mhm,
on it, and just go for it is probably the reason I've been able to do some of the cool things that I've been able to do. So yes, that was absolutely a worry. I was like, oh, if I start getting medicated, am I going to lose my
yeah,
edge? The
right.
thing is personality is still personality. You're still who you are.
Mm,
Yes, medication can mess with that, but I think that's all the more reason that we need to have a good psychiatry and therapy system in Canada is because
yeah,
when you get the right medication and you treat the right problem the right way, that's what's going to make you a more effective person. That's what's going to make you function better. So you're not always gonna find the right medicine right off the bat. But they that as with current research, stimulant medication and in tandem with therapy is supposedly the best approach to treating ADHD that we have right now. And
yeah,
but the thing is you'll often go to a doctor who doesn't know enough about it, and he'll just throw antidepressants at you because historically people used to try to treat ADHD with antidepressants a lot. But those can be a dangerous drug, especially if they're not the thing you're supposed to be taking. So, you know,
yeah, I definitely need to match whatever you're taking to what you
sure.
actually have, right? For
Sure,
sure.
sure. And they
But yeah,
shouldn't just be tossing pills at you and then not following up either. That's not
Yeah,
good practice.
definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah, definitely,
yeah.
and teaching some of those coping mechanisms, like, that's what I'm hoping to do with our son because he's so
Sure.
young that he
Hmm.
can learn that stuff now and just make a like, start creating habits
Yeah,
and
and you
things
gotta
like
make it fun
that.
for them. Gotta make it fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Us,
yeah,
us
totally.
ADHD people, if you make something into a game and you make it fun, well, we're gonna go for it.
Oh, I know that, I've learned that just trying to get him dressed in the mornings. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Okay, I'll time you," or whatever, or, like,
yeah.
put on something and, like, "I'm gonna close my eyes, you're gonna come into my room, and I'm gonna guess what you're wearing," and he was all over that,
Oh
like,
yeah,
I have to
cool.
think up,
Yeah,
like, new things to get him
totally,
moving, right?
totally. Yeah, or you
So
get you
I
get
know a little
10
bit about
kick butt points if you get this done in the
Yeah.
next 10 minutes or whatever, and at the end of the day, you can spend those points on whatever, an hour of video games or something.
There you go, I like that one, I'm
Yeah,
gonna use that next
yeah,
time.
sure.
Do you feel like, because I know, when you have ADHD or your brain works differently and uniquely in a lot of ways, so do you feel like you have a superpower because of your ADHD that you bring into your work? Like, what would
Yeah,
that be?
hmm.
Or
Some,
or is
I,
it maybe just a
there's
hyper focus?
there's a lot of talk about that, that it's a superpower, and I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a superpower. It's a very serious thing that can seriously impair people and make your life a lot more difficult. So I won't go as far as saying that yes, it's a superpower. However, I will say that yes, if you are creative, if you are really you have a drive to do something with yourself, and quite often we feel like we're driven by a motor, that you can find ways to try to direct it into a direction that is positive. Like, for example, I've tried to build my life around doing all the things that give me dopamine, the band thing, design,
Yeah.
things that I like, learning languages, discovering the things that you're good at that give you
Mm.
self-esteem. Because once you do something and you get praised for it and somebody says, "Oh, you're good at that," that's extreme motivation for us. We're like, "Oh, well, I need to do this all the time now."
Mm.
So yeah, you know,
Okay. Well, that gives me some insights into how to deal with my kiddo too,
yeah,
because
there you
that's
go.
helpful, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I do feel like everyone has a superpower regardless of, ADHD or not. So I do tend to ask my guests what their superpower is. I just wanted to kind of spin
Ah,
yours a little bit differently because maybe it had something to do with ADHD. Because I know I do hear that sort of terminology a lot too
mm,
about that. So, but yeah, good
yeah.
explanation. And yeah, I think it's important for anybody to just do what you love, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You're not gonna
Oh yeah,
It's hard enough to be
yeah.
your own boss that you're not gonna stick it out if it's not something you love doing and that you have a mission for and a passion for, so
Right. We
definitely
don't
good.
generally go out there and try to make businesses in an industry that we hate, do we?
No, no, we don't. We don't do that, definitely not.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Yeah.
Victoria was just on, she said, "All gas, no brakes, let's go." There's her comment. Good
Yay!
old Thanks, Victoria.
Victoria. She's been involved in a very cool project that is to be coming out later. I'm not sure when it's going to be coming. I don't want to say anything that's inaccurate, but she
Mm.
is involved in a movie that is all about men's mental health. And it will be coming out in the future, I imagine, and it sounds like a very cool project.
Oh, that does sound cool. Oh, maybe
Yeah,
Victoria should be
definitely.
on another episode of Bold
Hey,
Moves.
you should get her on here. She's such a good people connector. She is a
Nice.
marketing wizard and does all kinds of cool stuff. Yes, very cool. I think she's out of Calgary.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Victoria, if you're listening, which I think you are, give me a shout. We'll have you on.
Woohoo.
Okay, well, let's switch things around a little bit. I know you recently rebranded your business, and that's
Mhm.
that's the only brand I've ever known, and I love it.
Ah, thanks.
I love the videos you put out. They're very fun and cool. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to rebrand and to reflect more of your personality, and what changes did you make from the previous brand? I haven't seen it, so
Oh, well, I have one of the old cards here, right in front of me. So here, let me just hold it up to the camera, maybe. So this is
okay,
what I
yeah.
look
Oh,
like.
that's very
This is
different now, but yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
something like this, very blue, white, corporate looking. Um,
yeah,
so when I first started, I come out of design school and I studied branding in school. This was
yeah.
this was a big part of what we do. I was still very fresh and new. I had some marketing friends, and I was bouncing ideas off them. And I had one friend that was like, "What do you think of these?" And he's like, "That's the logo. That's the one. It's clean. It's professional looking. It's this. It's that. It's this. It's that." And I was thinking, yeah, I like it, but it's okay, but it's a different part of me. It's the business side of me. It's not the band side of me. Maybe I should keep those two things separate. A lot of people
Mm.
think, heavy metal's scary or heavy metal's it's full of debauchery or whatever. Let's keep those separate. Let's have professional Pete and band Pete.
Got
And
it.
so, I kind of went that route. And then I got into it and I started working. I started getting some client work. I started getting some contracts. But I was still feeling, and the more I did brand work for other people, the more I
Mm.
realized how off my own was. But at this time, I'm too busy working for everyone else. I don't have time to look at my own brand and make sure it's accurate. Um, and then I was last year. I thought, this is it. Summer tends to dip down; it gets a little less busy. This is the
Yep.
year I am going to rebrand myself and get it out there right. So I was ready to do that, and then I got a contract that lasted me all summer. So nope. Yeah.
Of course you did. Of course.
Right. So, but which is fine. That's okay. So this year was the year. I made sure I set some time over the summer for extra networking, rebrand work and whatnot. And I just came at it from no, this has got to be me. I'm my brand. Um, and what really pushed me into it was not even just my own thinking. It was when I started my business, I started going to Coffee with the Chamber meetings. They're networking meetings put on by the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. And one of the guys who spearheads the event, his name's Ken G. He's a fantastic people connector. Him and his colleague Emin, they're both they spearhead that meeting. And they know what they're doing, right? They know how to connect people. They've been doing this. This is their job. They're awesome. But what I noticed is every time I went to these meetings, I'd be dressed up a little more professional looking and
Mm.
whatnot, and I'd go and I'd try to mingle with these bankers and finance managers and stuff, and I always felt a little out of place and stuff. But I noticed that he would introduce me to people, and he would say, "Hey, this is Peter. He has a JUNO award," or "Hey, this is
Oh,
Peter. He speaks Japanese." And I always
right.
thought that was a little bit strange. I was like, I'm here to network and talk about business and graphic design and like the value of what I do and all this stuff. But he's telling people all this other stuff about me that's not related. And
Right.
it hit me one day. He knows what he's doing. He's giving me an interesting talking point that nobody else in this room has. There's nobody else in
Yep.
this room that plays in a JUNO Award-winning heavy metal band. Nobody else spent 8 years in Japan and speaks Japanese. This is a talking point. He's making me the interesting person in the room, and I'm like, aha, that's what I need to do. I need to play off of who I am, what makes me unique, and why I my personal brand is different. Why it's going to bring you value. Why it's going to make you excited to work with me. I love thrill stuff. I like to bring thrill into everything, and business is no exception. I'm here to have fun in life. I only get one crack at it. I want to enjoy the things that I do. Let's inject a little bit of that into my brand as well, and it should be fun. I mean, it's
Mm.
hard work. Yes, yes, we all need to work hard, but if you're not having fun with your life, and what are you doing?
Yeah, I love that story. Good thing you had that experience and that aha moment that
Yeah,
kinda shook
yeah,
things up for you.
yeah.
And
It
I
was
know
actually
it's only
big
been, like,
thanks to the chamber.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome, and yeah, he did know what he was doing because that's branding. It's like, how are you different? How do you
exactly.
stand out? And how can you be memorable? You've gotta be memorable in a room full of, all kinds of people, so that
Sure,
was
but you
super
can't just
smart.
make up a bunch of stuff and expect that
No.
that's gonna work either. You kind of gotta. It's gotta be you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
They're gonna find
yeah,
out who you are anyway, and, then they might if there's a disconnect there, people might feel kinda duped, like, "Oh, I thought you were this
totally.
really corporate buttoned up guy," but, you know,
But you play in a
and so
heavy metal band. Oh my god.
yeah. So it doesn't
Yeah,
kinda match, but I love that. Well, it's only been
sure.
this year that you rebranded, but have you seen any difference in, like, the kind of clients you get or the kind of projects you get or, who you're attracting or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the biggest difference is just I'm received so much better.
Yeah.
People want to talk to me more. They want to hang out more. They want to go for coffee. They want to talk business more. They
Mhm.
want to know about what I do more. Um, and it's just it attracts people so much better. And I think it builds more honest relationships with people around me, with the business community. And absolutely, I see a big difference in that. And that's I knew that's where I was struggling with my business. One of the areas that I needed to improve on. And as soon as I did, and as soon as I had the time to go with it, I just feel so much more connected to people on a real level.
Yeah, it's like you can sigh like, "Oh, this is me finally."
I don't have
Right?
to
This is
pretend
what I
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to
Sure,
pretend anymore. I can
sure,
wear my colorful pants and do my backflips, which we'll talk about in a second
exactly.
here as well. But yeah, I tell clients the same thing. It's like you want to put your best foot forward, but you wanna make sure it's your foot, right? You're
Yes,
not just Yeah, we wanna
that's a
actually make
good way
sure
to
it's
put it.
you. Yeah.
Mm.
And,
Mhm.
a fatal mistake that I think you made and a lot of my clients make, and I'll just mention this for anybody thinking of doing the same thing, is asking a friend, "What do you think of," like, that open-ended question, first of all, "What do you think of my brand?" And asking someone who might not be your ideal client either, they might not be your buyer, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of irrelevant what they think, is what I tell my clients. You have to talk to the people that are actually buying from you and actually are connecting with you, right? What they think, and
100%.
maybe not such an open-ended question either. Maybe it's like, "Well, what kind of feeling does this evoke for you?" Right? A little
Mhm.
more guided questions like that,
Mhm.
'cause, yeah, people love sharing their opinions, and they're not always helpful, is what I found. So,
Definitely, definitely. But that's a great point too, because that's a huge part of what brand is. It's not just you and how you
yeah,
describe yourself, it's how your clients describe you, because that's the entire
absolutely.
experience, right? Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, and you wanna attract that, and you wanna repel. It has 2 jobs, right? Attracting and
for sure.
repelling who you
For
don't
sure.
want. So, well, since we're on the topic of branding, this is a good segue into my next question. So, these terms, we throw them around as creatives, but sometimes clients don't really know exactly their true meaning. So I know you talk a lot about the difference between art, design, and marketing. So
Mm.
from your perspective, how do those things differ? What can you tell us about those three areas?
I love this question. So I think sometimes folks can be confused about whether they need a marketer, whether they need a designer, or whether they need an artist. They're three very different things. The way I like to describe it is art is expressive. It
Mm,
doesn't necessarily need to have a purpose. It can be just for expression. It can be to make something that looks nice. It can be to move people. Um, but generally it's not focused on function. Design, sure, things need to look awesome. People buy things that look awesome. That's part of it. But the big part is design needs to be functional. There's a set of principles and there's design theory that designers do everything by. Every choice we make has a purpose. There's a reason I put that thing up there. There's a reason I made your logo smaller. There's a reason I did this. There's a reason I did that. There's a reason I chose colors. There's a reason why I picked triangles instead of circles. There's a whole psychology behind guiding someone's eye through a
mm,
piece of information so that they retain and that information in the most effective way possible. And that's what design is. It's visual communication. It needs to be functional. Oh, and that's what makes it so much different than art.
mhm.
So it's kind of like art meets science, I suppose.
Yeah.
There is a quote, actually. I believe it was John Maeda, famous designer, who said that art is a question to a problem. Design is a solution to the problem. And I really like that one. But then you
Yeah.
get to marketing, and what I find is, I do the front end stuff. I do the stuff that people see it. It's the communication to the public. It's the thing that everybody sees. I believe the marketers are the people who maximize the amount of people that see what I've done. They
Mm.
get it out there. That's not necessarily my job. They'll do back end stuff that will get your social media seen by more people. They will get it out into the world. They will make it they'll make it explode. They'll make things go viral. They'll make people see what I've done. So I think a lot of times some people will come to me and they'll say, "Hey, I need marketing for this and this and this and this," and perhaps I can do some brand work for them. Perhaps I can do some marketing based graphics. I did work on a content creation team, so I understand how graphics and marketing, go together. That being said, I'm not going to do your back end stuff because I'm not good at it. You need a marketer.
Yeah.
Likewise, I think some people go to marketing agencies when they need design more than they do marketing. And quite often I think a lot of marketing agencies will say, "Hey, yeah, we're going to do some design for you too," and then everything comes out with Canva templates and it's not very
Mhm.
unique. It's but the thing is I think design and marketing both very very important for business. Um, just knowing which one you need and really, ideally, both of them. If you've got a marketer and you've got a designer working on a team together for your stuff, you're going to get the ultimate value out of it all because you've got the back end covered, you've got the front end covered, you're getting out there to more people, your message is clear and concise and on brand. That is your dream team. A marketer and a designer together, bang on.
Yeah, I know. I believe in specialization too. Like it works both ways. I think marketers know just enough about design to be dangerous, and designers
Hmm.
know just enough about marketing to be dangerous. So, yeah, yeah. So definitely specialize. Specialization is key here. And yeah, marketing is like the broadcast signal that goes out, right?
Sure,
Um,
sure. Yeah.
but yeah, I
If you
always
didn't have
tell
the if
people
you didn't have the show to broadcast, it wouldn't work. If you
exactly
didn't have
that's
the
that's it.
broadcaster to broadcast the show, it wouldn't work either.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
helpful to think about it that way. And yeah, as
Yeah, it
far as
is.
design goes, I like to tell clients like, yeah, like just like you said, there's a reason I chose this font or this color scheme or these shapes. And, a good example is like if you're driving down the highway, imagine if the road signs were all written in brush script, or some
Yeah.
handwriting font, right? That would not be very
Totally.
helpful because it's too hard to read. It's too floofy and fancy and
Yeah.
can't be seen from a distance. So there's a reason they chose, Arial bold for all the road signs, right?
Mhm.
So yeah,
100%. Great example.
tru trusting your designer as well and your marketer that,
Sure.
it's not just for you, the design, it's again to get you business, right? To attract your
Yeah.
ideal audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that makes total sense. Well, thanks for that very concise explanation. Um,
Hey, thanks.
yeah. So keeping on the brand theme, so branding is a lot of things. It's about your customer's experience with your company as well, as we know,
Okay.
and your reputation and all that. So if we're diving to the topic of customer experience, I know you offer a really interesting and unique customer experience with your design consultations. Can you tell us a bit about that and how you came up with that and like a bit of the backstory?
Okay, this is a little bit of a silly thing. I noticed McDonald's used to do free smiles with their orders. It used to be on the drive-through. You could go through the drive-through and you could ask for 10 free smiles, and that's probably why they took it off. Is because they were getting too many, late night partiers at driving through and asking for 100 free smiles, and they were getting annoyed. But so I have a thing where this is not necessarily something you need to take me up on, but I will happily do this for you at any consultation as long as we have a grassy area to do it. I don't really want to do it into the gravel, but I will do a backflip for you if you like. I will, and you're welcome to video it and say, "Hey, look, my graphic designer does backflips for me."
Yay.
So yeah, you saw my rebrand video at the very end of it. I said, "I'm Peter Klassen. I do graphics and backflips," and then so I'm into fitness and I like being mobile and stuff like that. So that's just kind of part of me. And I like things to be fun and exciting,
Yay.
right?
Yeah, why
So
not?
yeah, and
That's so
I find
cool.
backflips really fire people up.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah. That would be unexpected, definitely coming from a graphic designer, right? Like,
Sure,
that's so cool.
right,
I
right.
have
You
seen you
got
do it. I have seen you do a backflip off of like some kind of like I don't know. It was a concrete structure. So I have seen you do that in
mm,
a video.
probably
But not
yeah.
not typically grass is better, right? Grass is
Oh
much
yeah, grass
better
is
for
absolutely much better to land on that, because sometimes you'll over rotate and you'll go back on your butt. But it's like,
Oh, that's fun.
some people say they bend over backwards for their clients. Like, why do
You
that?
flip over backwards. That's a
Yeah,
good tagline.
don't do that. It's bad for your back. Go all the
Ah.
way around.
I love that. Well, I
Yeah.
won't be doing anything like that anytime soon.
Well, this is
Not
this is
not nimble
also
enough.
age dependent. Ask me again in 10
Yes.
years if I'm still doing backflips for people.
You'll have to come up with something else at that point,
Yeah,
right?
back rolls.
Yeah, I love
There
that.
we
I
go.
love that. Well, again, it's a differentiating factor. It's something that makes you memorable and something that makes you you as well.
Sure.
So, I think people can take a page out of your book and just kind of think about like, what can I do? Like, we don't have to. I think sometimes we present ourselves the way we think other people want us to present ourselves, or how we think we should, or because it's always been done this way. But
Hmm.
that's the great thing about entrepreneurship is like you get to do your own thing and create your own thing. And we're creative people. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing the whole entrepreneur gig anyway. So
Right.
go for it. Why not?
100%.
Yeah, love it. Well, I think we're about ready to wrap up, but thank you for all your insights and everything. And I do want to ask, where can people find you and support you and your band as well?
Oh, great. Oh yeah, thank you. Again, thank you for having me here. This has been really fun chatting with you.
Yeah,
This opportunity to talk a little bit about myself and what I do and stuff. That I appreciate it. You can find
you're welcome.
me on socials as my business, PK Digital Creative. It's at Mark PK Digital Creative. There you go, right down there.
Yeah,
On all platforms. And
awesome.
then the band is at Striker Metal. So you can find us
Okay, at Striker
on all
Metal.
the socials at Striker Metal. Yes, absolutely. We will be
Okay.
on tour throughout November in North America as well. So if you are in any of the major cities of the U.S., some of Canada as well, come hang out. Say hi to me at the merch booth.
Yeah, that would be
Sure.
fun. Awesome. Well, it's been really cool having you on. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And it's been fun. And yeah, we will catch you guys later. If you guys want to find me, I guess I should mention that too, because why not? Yeah, Bold Moves is the podcast. It's going to be launching on all the platforms coming soon. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me at my website, which is beboldbranding.com. And we'll see you guys next time.